One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for another episode of Tea Time with Ronna Mercer. I do have another special guest star here today, and I am so thankful that he's on my show. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Noel. I don't know what else you want to know.
So, just talk about what do you do for a living?
So currently I'm the owner of Axis Dance and Acro. It's a competition dance studio in the suburbs of Virginia, and I'm a personal trainer.
Perfect. Do you want to give a little bit of a backstory of like how we first met, or who we met through?
Oh yeah, so we met. I want to say this was I want to say 2 years ago almost. My memory's fuzzy,
Mm-hmm.
getting older, but I want to say we met at Mickey's through a mutual friend, I think at the time. I think you were bartending, I want to say, or either that or we were just all having a drink. Yeah, I want to say that's how we met.
I think So if I remember like how we met, it was through your friend, of course, and I think we were like out drinking. So that's how I remember it.
Mhm. So I mean, I don't think I'm friends with that person anymore. So we'll just say through someone that we used to know.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm not friends with that person at all because, ladies and gentlemen, in this show, I do not give a fuck at all. And I'm a type of person, I'm just going to call it the way I see it. I told you that I'm no longer going to use names. But this person in particular that we're talking about got me fired from my 6-figure bartending job. Yes, behind some bullshit of lying. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We're not going to dive deep into that conversation, but I'm glad we kind of brought it up just to kind of like close it out. Closure. Okay,
And
so
I'd be surprised if they follow you and watch it.
Oh well, I'm pretty sure they probably will be watching this episode. Trust me. You know how it goes. You know how it fucking goes. I was going to ask you. So, what are some of your passions? Like, where do you see yourself in like 5 years? Like, what makes you like happy?
So in the past, I used to have a passion for for being recognizable in terms of, wow, that person's really talented, or wow, that person has great style, wow, that person's really fit. Nowadays, I find my passion centered around having really genuine connections with people. Like I grew up as a dancer and an acrobat, so I used to want to be the best of the best and book jobs and gigs and always be working, booked and blessed. But that was such a hustle and bustle lifestyle that I wasn't even living in the present. So I want to say right now, currently, as I stand almost 40, my biggest passion in life is celebrating the little moments in life with my dogs, with my close friends, family. Like as as simple as that seems, like I really live for that lately. And honestly, with how the world's been going lately, like that's really what I think is the most valuable resource I have anyway, is the little things, good times, drinks with friends and family, sleeping in. Like that's my favorite thing. That doesn't mean that I don't love still performing and training as an acrobat and a dancer. I still love all that. I just don't love it in the same way as I used to. I've been trying to find myself in the art form a little more lately. So I've been training in aerial and dance a little bit more just to see if I can rediscover that passion and love for it. And I want to say it's simmering. I like where it's going, but I also like the fact that I'm taking my time diving back into the art form because I loved it at one point and it was all I had at one point. But like I said, it's all I had, and I didn't feel comfortable with this being the thing that defined me. So I just like it now as just one of the many little pieces that make up Noel, as opposed to Noel the dancer. I like being Noel who dances. So little things like that. My future, I want to maybe in the future perform again as a dancer, as an aerialist. But for now, I just like spending time with friends, family, making money, taking care of my dogs, and and maybe dabbling into the world of drag. Because why not? I grew up as a performer. I love fashion and visual arts, and so I am slowly seeing how I can bring it all together into a drag persona. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, I live in WeHo. I might as well be a full-fledged queen, right?
Perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because first off, you have a we all know this. You have a very beautiful face. So you diving into drag will be perfect. So you should definitely try to like look into that. And the second thing I want to mention, wait a minute, if I hear this correctly, you're almost 40 years old.
Oh my God.
Is that what you just said?
I'm turning 37. Yeah, I'm turning 37. And so, God, it's scary. It feels terrifying. I still feel like I'm in my 20s. I actually feel like I'm a teenager. But yeah, 4-0 is just around the corner. Scary to think about, but I'm actually excited about. Oh, thank you, bud. I want to see where my life goes in my 40s. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Maybe I'll have a new appreciation for my history and for the history that other queer people have built for us. You know?
Absolutely. Speaking of that, now since you said that you're close to being 40, I'm not gonna. First off, I'm not gonna round up. He's about to be 30. Did you say you're about to be 37?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since we already are on the topic of that, something I do on my show, everyone else who watches the show, they know this. So I do on my show is called Ronald Cam. And you just stand up and you just show everyone your body, show people what you're working with, show everyone what 37 looks like because you have an amazing body. So show it
Sure, why not? I'm actually not in the best shape of my life right now. You guys have been eating a lot of food.
Oh.
But
Damn, boy.
I try.
And you still single?
But I'm not wearing underwear. I can't. You guys. I have been single for 14 years or longer.
Why do you think you've been single? Do you think it has something to do with the LA scene or just like, why do you think you're single?
Well, you know what? So I think I'm single because, like most queer people, there was a lot of unpacked trauma that I think I projected onto people. A lot of, I didn't know who I was. And so, when you don't know who you are, how do you know what you want? So that was a big issue, I think, that I could see now in hindsight. And even though I grew up in LA, like I was born in Compton, a few years after I graduated college, I moved to the East Coast. I moved to Washington, D.C., and I thought everything was going to be better for me there, right? I had not been successful in romance here in LA. But everything in DC almost seemed to be the same, if not worse. And I think it was because I was, again, trying to find someone or something instead of trying to discover who I am. And as soon as I made that realization that I was projecting and not coming to terms with trauma or not taking the time to nurture, Noel, then I realized that, well, I guess the problem isn't everybody else. I guess the problem is potentially me, and maybe not so much a problem, but a project. I needed to work on myself so that I could really feel comfortable in what I offer other people. That way I can really see if there is a genuine connection rather than me trying to just make a connection for the sake of having someone there. I never wanted to be codependent on anybody, so, finding someone that I felt I had a genuine connection with me was the most important thing to me. So you're just not jumping into a relationship with anyone that was cute. It needed to feel real. It needed to feel like there was substance there. So I'm still on that journey. I'm still single. I've tried many, many different routes. I've tried the dating apps. I've tried dating shows. I've tried the dating pool. I've gone to the bars and clubs. But here I am. It's not worked yet, but I'm not discouraged by it.
Yeah, this is something I'm going to say. This is from someone who's been single as well. Not that long, but I've been single. And, I've realized just here out in the LA scene, the dating scene is just trash. It doesn't matter how hard you try. The guys out here, they're always looking for something better. And I think that's the problem. That's something that I've been slowly trying to like work towards. So I get where you're coming from on that. But what I wanted to like bring up now, since we're on the topic and you just brought about you tried reality shows, I want to dive into you were on a reality show, and the show was called everyone. If anyone doesn't know this guy, it's called 24 Hours of Love on WOW with Miss Vanjie. What's that? Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah. I want to say, I think the title is Vanjie's 24 Hours of Love. And I think what they'll
Okay.
eventually do is several spin offs off that. So they might just swap the drag queen and start another cast. But
I
essentially,
know.
that's the show. Somehow presents plus.
Yeah, I know. You ended up in fifth place,
Wait,
so
what was that?
congratulations. You ended up pretty far in the show. Do you want to talk about your time on the show? Do you want to talk about your experience with the show?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll talk about it. I mean, I found the casting notice um, while still living in DC. I was actually already working on moving back to Los Angeles. Um, and it was looking for single guys that wanted an experimental dating um, method to find the one. And so I was like, okay, let me just apply because honestly, goddamn, I've been single so long. Why not? I'm going to be back in LA. I don't really know a lot of people other than like Instagram people, and who knows if they're going to want to be actual friends in person or just social media friends. You might have people on social media and then you see them in person, they ignore you. That's queer culture for you, right? So I applied. I got through all the different casting processes, background checks, interviews, all that stuff, without even knowing like what the show was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to obviously explore my romantic side, my sensual side, all that. And if people got a chance to see it in the process, awesome. I mean, cool. So I get cast in the show. They give us the dates. They tell us everything to bring. They pick us up. We go to a hotel, and then we're held and at this place, and then we get taken to this house without any information. Like we still don't know what's going on, but it moves so fast that I don't particularly care too much. I'm a very visual person in terms of what I present, and so I just wanted to make sure that I had the right outfits, that my hair was done, my jewelry was all packed, so I didn't even know what I was walking into. So I get to the house, and then we're all on ice, so I'm meeting all these other guys, but we can't talk. But I start to get excited because I'm like, this is great. I'm new to LA. I'm going to meet a bunch of guys, and we'll see where this goes. And so they liquor us up, and so we're all socializing. It's getting fun. Everyone's getting to know each other. We're all getting along just fine. And then we get alarm, and then we get hit with the news that we're going to be essentially trying to win over Vanjie, Jose. And I'm excited in a way because I'm a very competitive person. Like I said, I was a dancer and an acrobat in the competition circuit. So I like to fight for something, regardless of whether I want it or not. I want to win. And I also have I wouldn't say fascination, but I'm intrigued by other visual artists, whether they're dancers, singers, actors, drag queens, whatever. I'm intrigued by what sparks their creativity. So I was very open to the idea of dating Jose because I was like, oh, we might have a lot in common. We're Latinos, we're into performance, and we're into visual art. So I was like, cool, I'm down for this. I'm not mad at the idea. I was not super passionate about going into it in terms of fighting. I just wanted to make sure that I was presenting myself authentically. And if he connected with that, great. If he didn't, also great. I just wanted to be true to myself. A lot of the boys got very liquored up. Not to say I wasn't liquored up myself. I'm very fortunate that my my inebriation did not make a lot of the show because I was very embarrassed by some of the things that I said and did. So I'm glad that other people's drunken stupors were more interesting and those got highlighted because I was quite embarrassed by a lot of it. But I had a great time. I got to meet a lot of great boys that I'm still in contact with. And Jose, he's great too. I see him out and about sometimes when he's in LA. Although I think sometimes he seemed a little too cool for school, and that's cool. To each their own. And I got to make connections with the World of Wonder production crew and the creative minds behind it. So that was awesome too because I love queer culture and I love that queer people now have something that's unique to them, like a whole network that is basically creating content just ideally just with them in mind. So that's awesome. And to be a part of that is exciting as well because damn, there's not a lot out there for queer people to see themselves. So to be a Latino, to be someone who identifies as being on the queer gray A spectrum, and to just be another artist that is I think is authentic to themselves. I was happy to be there and be on the show, and hopefully other people see that and be like, oh, cool, like I want to do that too, and hopefully more people like me can have access to opportunities like this, whether it's career representation or just feeling comfortable being themselves and opening and going into dating with with their heart on their sleeve and caution to the wind, because I feel like that's the only way you really you drop all guards really for people to get to know you. Yeah, because I've been talking to friends lately about the dating scene, and I feel like everyone has a wall up. And I feel like if we can break those walls, like people can really see who you are and decide whether or not they like you or not, and you can decide the same thing, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I've learned so much from the dating scene I hear. For me, I just stopped trying. I'm like, you know what? Whoever's meant for me is meant for me. I'm like, I'm not going to try to change anything. So that's just like my philosophy on everything. I am so glad that you learned so much from this show, but I do have like a little juicy question I want to ask.
Oh, sure.
So I want to ask you, did you fuck anyone on the show?
No, that did not happen. I made a lot of, well, I don't know. It was weird. Like, how, like, when you meet queer people, like, you're like, okay, I may be interested in you. I may not. I may be interested in you, too. I felt that I had more genuine connections with the other guys there than I did with Jose. Some of them felt really like, oh, I would love to be friends with you after this is over. And some of them felt like, oh, I feel like maybe there's something there that could turn into romance or something sensual. I didn't present that opportunity to anyone, meaning I didn't say like, hey, do you want to like mess around after, or like, do you want to go upstairs and mess around? I didn't do any of that. Post show,
That's me.
those offers were presented to me, and that's fine. But I think after that, I didn't necessarily feel that same connection, because when you're there, like, you're excited, your endorphins are going, you're liquored up, so maybe you're like, hey, you want to maybe after the show connect. But after the show wrapped, a lot of us didn't have each other's contact info, so, out of sight, out of mind. And so when we did find each other on social media, weeks, months after, it was more so excitement towards like, hey, like, how have you been? And it was more friendship. But I did not smash with anyone on the show. And I don't think I don't know if I made it clear, but I identify as being gray sexual, which means I don't experience sexual attraction in the same way that the average person would, meaning there are periods of time where I don't experience any sexual attraction. Like, I'm not like, for lack of a better term, like horny. I don't necessarily get horny. And then there are periods of time where I do experience, sexual attraction. I get horny, I wake up horny like a normal man or normal queer man would. And it's just like peaks and valleys. And part of that is obviously getting older. Our testosterone levels are all over the place. And part of it is me being realizing that I'm a little bit of a weirdo, in the sense that I'm not fascinated by sex. It doesn't entice me in the same way it would the average person. I'm open to it. It doesn't scare me, but I'm not like, hey, let's smash. I'm really into intellectual connections, and that doesn't mean like let's talk about brainy stuff because I'm kind of dumb. It means just like let's connect over mutual interests and like geek out over them. Like that to me is hot, and there's not a lot of interest in that, especially in West Hollywood, but there are queer people that are like me, and so I'm glad to have been reached out by a lot of people like that. And I'm glad to educate people that there's people like me, because I've met people that have had no idea what that is in terms of gray sexual, asexual, or being on a queer spectrum, and they become enticed by that idea, and they're open to dating someone like that. So yeah, so smashing is not like on my to-do list with anybody. But there are times when I look at someone and I'm like, I think I could. So that's kind of where I am. And I'm still getting really comfortable with the idea of me even talking about sex.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not me. I will say, if I was in that house, I'm not even going to sit there and lie. They probably would have kicked me out like night one because I've been fucking everyone. I am not going to sit there and lie. I will say a few guys on the show. I'm not going to give names, but I have fucked around with a few guys on that show. But yeah, no, I felt what you're doing is you did the right thing, because me, like I said, I wouldn't last no more than one day. I'd be like, I'm sorry, Miss Vanjie, but I'm not here for you. I'm here for the guys. She would have hated me after that.
Yeah, honestly. And that's part of being authentic, right? Being authentic to yourself. If you found that someone else had a better connection with you, I would totally respect that and be like, yeah, why not? Like that person may not be your cup of tea. See yourself out. Absolutely.
Was this your first reality show, or have you done a few before?
So I was, oh my God, how long ago was this? I was on a few episodes of Say You Can Dance, season 5. Oh my God, I don't even know how long ago that was. I think I was 22 or younger, 21 maybe, which was crazy because I had been auditioning for the show since I think the first season, since I was like 18. So maybe I was 21, 20. I don't know, I'm not bad. I'm not good at math. And I think I made it, I was in Vegas, I don't know, I think I made it to top 30, 20 boys. I don't know. That's so long ago. And that was obviously when I was chasing my dance dreams. So I had experience in terms of like how to interact with the camera, how to pull focus a little bit, and things like that. So when we were filming the Vanjie show, so many of the boys were talking, and even when they were arguing, they were like just like turning their backs to the camera, and I was like, oh no, turn this way. So they were like fighting, and I would be like, oh,
Gotta teach
oh, it's gonna be okay, and I would like try to turn them to like face the camera, and I'd be like, oh no, don't fight. So it was fun bringing obviously that experience. Like if you go back and watch the show, like every time there's like an argument, I'm like watching, because I'm like, not only do I want all the gossip, like what are you guys fighting about, but obviously want to be on the camera longer.
You know me.
And that's show business. Like obviously,
You know me personally.
Camera and just pull focus.
Definitely, you know me. If it was me, I would have been so much drama on that show. So much drama. I would have been the villain. I'm telling you. That's why it's not meant for me to do reality shows, because I would have been the villain. And not only that, I always call people out, and people hate when I call them out. So they be like, you know what, this bitch got to get off the show. This is not going to do at all.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the villains. Like anytime that person is speaking their mind. Like, I've also been called a villain in many situations. Like, I think telling it how it is, and why is something so wrong like that? Like, addressing an issue, like, I think that's great. And honestly, when it comes to TV, like, the the bigger the issue, the better, right? Like, if you find something that needs to be called out, do it. I mean, that's what people want to see. And if you think that people are inauthentic, call it out. I mean, that's what I do in friend groups now. Like, I used to put up with so much, and I used to be like, well, we hang out, we get along, blah 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 blah. Now, if someone's fake, or if someone is, if someone does something shady, 100% I call it out. Like, because people will continue doing that unless you address it, unless you beat them for filth. And so, like, hell yeah, there's no such thing as a villain so long as it's something that's real. I mean, making up something, I guess that's the villain. But if you see something that is wrong or something that you don't like, absolutely call it out. Read the person. Fuck them.
I definitely agree with you on that. I just now realized I did not realize that So You Think You Can Dance has been on that long. Jesus, were you like 22, 21? That's a long ass time.
Hell yeah, and it even got taken off the air, and I was so happy when that happened. I was like, thank God. I'm so sick of that show. And then it came back. So I mean, good, because artists and dancers, they deserve having a chance to reach a big audience. And but I hated it at the time, after my time on it, because it was kind of like a cheat sheet, or like a trap door. Like, you didn't have to put in all the work. You could just audition for this show, be the all American person, which is what the show was at the time, right? Getting people to look, mainstream and lovable by mainstream America, and you would make it on the show.
Right.
And then it didn't matter how good of a dancer you were, how marketable you were, which is part of showbiz. And so a lot of people would use that and not pay their dues in the dance folks. It was frustrating. Nowadays, because of social media, I think it provides the same way outlets, right? Like, you can be famous on TikTok, famous on Instagram, and not put in all the work, like all the training, all the auditions, all the no's. All you have to do is get a lot of followers who like maybe how you look and all of that, or maybe your personality, and that's a way in. But I guess that's the way things are going, right? Like, it's not so much talent based now. It's about your ability to capture an audience, which I guess there's talent behind that. But I grew up on talent being like the work you put in the studio, right? Like the nitty gritty, the sweat, the blood, the tears, the sacrifices. But now it's a culture of personalities, which is different. And I'm old, so I have to learn that that's the new way of doing things, and so good for them.
Sure. Well, look at who was in the office. We had a president who was in the office who had no experience. He was on a reality show. So that goes to show you do not need to have any talent. Sometimes it's just about sucking the right dick in order to get ahead. Unfortunately, that's just the way to look at it. I mean, well, honestly, this has been happening for years. So we all know this. But I'm just saying, and sometimes in order to get ahead, that's what you have to do. I will say, some of these reality shows just need to go. They have been on way too long. I feel like America's Got Talent, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, the fucking Dancing with the Stars, all those fucking shows need to go. They just been on way too long. And I feel like Hollywood just kind of like reusing the same thing. They bringing these shows back and back and back. Like American Idol. That show should have ended years ago, but they still have it out. I feel like we just need a fresh start and stop trying to reuse the same thing in Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Take more chances. Create more content that's different. That, even when you find something that is a good show, like, you're like, wow, this shit gets canceled after one season. Like, what the fuck? And the stuff that should be canceled is like on season 20, 30. It is wild. That's something that I don't understand. I'm not in producing. I'm not in, in the world of media. So I don't understand what goes on or why some things are on so long. I'm sure because they make money. But it's time for, I for one, want more, people of color on TV doing things that represent the POC experience. You know what I mean? I'm tired of people, queer people and POC being like the token person in a white sitcom and a white melodrama. I want more content that is built around our experiences, really, and not just reality TV. Like I want scripted shit,
I definitely agree with you on that. We definitely need more gay shows, and this is something I've realized, like watching TV, is not a lot of. Still to this day, I will say, black television is coming up. They're making more shows about black people in general, which I love that. But I'm not seeing enough Hispanic TV shows. I'm not seeing enough Asian American TV shows. I'm not seeing enough Indian American TV shows. They need to find some kind of way to balance it out. We all say this all the time: representation really matters. So I need Hollywood to get on their shit and start representing us in a better way. I will say we do have, compared to like 20 years ago, we do have more shows out that's representing the queer community of people of color, but we still need more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what's great about kind of World of Wonder and what they do is they're really spearheading things and producing stuff for queer people. But I want the queer content to reach far beyond the queer community. I want other people to see us so that we can exist in their space, and that the fact that queer people exist can be normalized, damn it, instead of it feeling so foreign. And when that happens, you won't have stupid policies like banning drag shows, going on, and how that bill is moving forward in Tennessee. Like if queer people and queer content was normalized in American homes, like if it were just on TV more commonly, then you wouldn't have people afraid of it like they are now and doing all this crazy shit. It's sad, I feel for those communities that are experiencing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I'm just sick of it. And the thing about it is, and this is another thing, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm all for having straight men cast in gay roles, but we need more. Here's the thing. This is how I feel about it. To me, it makes it seem like it's not a lot of gay actors out there who can play these roles, who can play in straight roles. And I just feel like Hollywood need to get better at that as well. So I'm like, get it together, Hollywood. Like, you have one fucking job, so make it happen. I also, as well, we need more queer writers and queer producers who can produce these shows and can kind of get it out there, because that has everything to do with like the messaging.
No, you're absolutely right. Like going to that point where straight actors play queer people. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it goes back to old Hollywood. Even like with like Breakfast at Tiffany's, where you have Michael Rooney playing like an Asian person, like as this horrible stereotype. I think if you get a queer person to play a queer character, it's going to be a more authentic character because they're pulling from real life experiences. So the part is more, in my opinion, is more likely to be it's more likely to be accepted and be a better role because the actor has real authentic experiences to bring to the role versus a straight person that maybe is doing research as what it's like to be queer. And to be queer is so diverse. I mean, there's the spectrum of queerness is so broad that how can a straight actor like study what it's like to be queer? I'm sure that's an overwhelming amount of information. So they're probably just going for the most stereotypical things and just being queer, and we often see that, right? Like it's like a more hyper feminized role, which is there's nothing wrong like that. There's all of us there's a lot of us, right? So if it were a queer actor, it'd be something more authentic, maybe more relatable to other people. So yeah, it's not exactly the same as casting a Caucasian person to play a POC person, but it's rooted in the same thing. It's where that actor can bring more authenticity to the role, which makes the role more believable, really.
Definitely. I don't know. Have you seen that movie? It's called Bros. That movie in particular, I just could not watch it because to me, it was just like, first off, they could have cast someone of color. And that is a few reasons why that fucking movie flopped. Because I was looking at the trailer, I was like, absolutely not. And my friends who went to go see the movie, they said, oh, that movie was terrible. I'm like, I could have told you that right away just looking at it. But I feel like because even the producer, the creator of Bros, I didn't feel like he did a good job with that. So for me, I felt like it still was kind of like stereotypical, like how they cast like the gay guys to be the most like feminine one. It just, to me, it was just like so annoying, and it didn't look funny to me at all or appealing.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about that movie? You know, there's so much controversy with that movie within our queer community, right? But when I saw a preview for that movie, I didn't even think it was a gay movie. I thought it was just two guys who are really close, and everyone thinks they're gay because they're so close. And it was called Bros, right? So I figured, like, yeah, because queer people, as broad as our spectrum is, we don't call each other bro. So already it started off on the wrong path. You call them, like, it should have been called sis. Like, when we call each other sis, you know, more so than bros. Right? I was like, wait, someone told me it's a gay movie. I was like, oh, I didn't even know. And also, I felt like the preview was so watered down queerness so that it wouldn't offend straight audiences. You know what I was like? Because I walked away thinking it was a straight movie, and I was like, oh, well, they did the queer community a disservice because now, I mean, I know I'm dumb, but a lot of people like me probably don't think it's a gay movie. So it's not even on our radar to support.
And that's why it flopped. It flopped so bad in the box office. Like, it just is crazy. Also, too, they came out with a movie back in December with Jim Parsons. I can't remember the name of it. It was the same guy who played in Bros. And me watching the movie, I was like expecting to cry because I had saw this TV show. What was the name of this TV show? It was about, you know, Zoe Saldana. She was playing the lead role in this TV show. It was about, she was married to this guy who had cancer. So I was expecting to cry when I watched this like gay movie in the theaters. No, not at all. They did not have any chemistry at all. But when I went to the movies last week, I went to go see this movie. It was called Of an Age. If you haven't seen that movie or heard of it, you need to watch it right away. It's so amazing. And the two people are playing in the movie. I think they're both probably straight, but they're two people of color. And the way that the movie just tells their story is just like beautiful. I'm like, that's how you should do it. That's how you should make a fucking movie. Not Bros, and I definitely agree with you on that. That movie, I didn't think it was gay at all. It definitely came off as straight.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably filtered for as many audiences as possible, so to digest and so it could produce revenue and all that. But then you alienate queer people who like things crafted specifically for them, you know. So it's you know, it's hard. We want everything, right? We want to have our cake and eat it too. We want something that's just for us, and we want it to be successful so that it can be replicated. But I think it might have missed the mark in terms of its marketing, because that's all I'm familiar with. Because I didn't actually see the movie, unfortunately. Maybe if there was more people that look like me in it, I would have been like, oh, let me see. But I didn't see anything that I don't see when I step outside the house in WeHo, right? I just see mostly other Caucasian people and medium build people, you know, 6 feet and taller, you know. I'm like, I was not interested in that. Maybe queer people who are just coming out of the closet or discovering themselves need media like that to consume to feel more accepted. So that's great. I'm glad that it exists for people like that. But it didn't pull my focus. And so there's something for them to learn in terms of that. So kudos to them for learning from this, although I think they were at some point trying to blame queer people for not supporting it. But that's something that I think they got read for as well. So hopefully they can, you know, after their passion, you know, for their project, you know, after they stop getting offended by it and taking it personal, they can see maybe where they went not wrong, but where they could have taken bigger swings in terms of their outreach to like I said, the broad queer spectrum. Because they pulled, I think, a tiny audience, and the rest of us were just kind of like, what else you got?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And I was looking at, someone had posted videos of this Hispanic guy, and he was talking about, had they casted like a person of color, people probably would have came out to see it. Like, hint, if you've seen Love, Simon, that movie did really well in theaters. If he had did something similar to that, instead of just blaming the queer community, then that would have been a different story. But he just literally attacked the media, saying that, oh, you guys did not come out and support my film. It's because it sucked. And it flopped for a reason. Next time, learn from your fucking mistakes and do better. That's all you fucking can do. Just saying.
And not to say that the queer community can't learn from this as well. Like, we're as queer people, maybe now we know to give more things an opportunity, right? But that doesn't mean that everything that you put out there with the queer sticker we're gonna consume, right? That is also, I feel, taking advantage of the queer community. Like, look at this is gay, you have to love it. No, baby, like that's not how it works. That's just like dating someone because they're gay. You're gay, I'm gay too. Let's be together. No, we're allowed to have taste levels, and we're allowed to like and dislike certain types of media. And so they need to work on that. If you want our money, then try harder. Unfortunately,
I definitely agree with you on that.
And because, not everything that I create as an artist. Yeah, like not everything that I create as an artist, people are gonna like, right? As people who create on social media platforms, some stuff flops, and I don't get mad at people for not supporting my art or something like that. I look back on my art and I'm like, what can I do to improve this? You know what I mean? And art is subjective. Some people are gonna like it, some people are not. And so you stop blaming other people and look back at your art and see if you want it to improve, how. It's you have to be vulnerable to accept that your work is not the shit. You know what I mean? Be confident in it, but realize that perhaps it can improve, especially if you're not satisfied with the way it performs. And this goes to all artists, really.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's also about being consistent. And if you're consistent, trust me, it will pay off in the long term. And a lot of people just really be like, especially nowadays, they be expecting results like right away. No, things just do not happen like that. You have to be consistent at it, and you have to put in the work. If you don't put in those things, it's not going to work out at all. And same thing with me. I don't expect people to like everything I do. Only thing I can really do is just try my best and just keep it going. That's all you fucking can do.
Because the more you produce, content is art. The more you produce media, art, visuals, auditory pieces of work, the more you grow as an artist, and the bigger that your palette gets, and you can look back at your what do I want to say? Like you can look back on the amount of work that you produce, and you can be like, oh, that was successful because of this, or I like this, and this didn't work, but I really like this. I'm going to stick true to my guns, and maybe I can further down the line, the audience where it will come. But yeah, we have to look back on our catalog of work and be like, oh, I'm really proud of what I made. However, I can still grow and improve, especially if your focus is to reach more audiences and to have them like your work. Of course, you can produce work and not give a fuck if people like it or not. I'm also all for that as well. But if you want people to like what you do, listen to their opinions. Don't necessarily accept them, but listen and be like, oh, okay. It also helps us take a temperature of where we are as a community, as queer people. Where are we? Like right now, I just got a Twitter, so I don't even know how to use it. But all I see on Twitter, besides porn, is like a lot of angry people. I'm like, ugh. I was like, why is queer people are we so easily angered right now? Like, as someone who's like a little bit more zen nowadays and more spiritual, I'm like, the internet is so toxic when it comes to, especially like queer things like Drag Race, and like other reality shows and support for other artists like Beyonce and Rihanna. Like, I was like, everyone has an opinion, which is great, but why are these opinions so hostile? That's cool. Stop, stop being so mad. Jesus.
I definitely agree with you on that. They gave Rihanna such a hard time on her performance at the Super Bowl. I'm like, girl, she's having a child. Like, what do you expect? I'm like, the girl's been off. I mean, how long has she not made music in like 7 years? Like, give her a break. Like, I see, that's the only thing I really just do not understand about this world. Like, people are just so cruel. And I'm like, that's something that I'm trying to work towards, that getting better at that myself, especially now since I'm getting older. But I have to realize too, not everyone is on the same level as me. Not everyone's gonna think the same way I think and act the same way I act. So it is what it is. Only thing I can really do is, and same thing with you, we can just like take it one day at a time and just really focus on us and try to put out positive energy and have a great mindset. Like I'm very big on I've said this on my show before. I'm very big on like manifesting and trying to put out great intentions of shit I want out of life. And I kid you not, like I'm a business owner, and each day I am trying to think of ways to bring in more money for my business and also, expand. And so if I have like a negative outlook, like, oh, it's not going to work out, this is not happening right then and there, I would literally crash. So if you have that mindset, it's going to happen. So do not have that mindset. And I tell everyone this.
Yeah, I recently made a friend, and we've gotten really close over a short amount of time, and he's really gotten me into the idea of really manifesting things, because when you grow up as a dancer, especially in my generation before social media and all that, you would go to the auditions and people would and you'd get obviously hundreds of no's before you hear a yes, and you would just go back and beat yourself up and go back to the studio and just train insane until you would get those yeses. And you would take everything so personal. And I really think now, because of this friend, like I'm really learning to manifest things in turn. And what manifesting means to me is putting myself in a positive state of mind where I can accept the no's as not doors closing, but almost like a gust of wind steering me elsewhere. So, and that helps me realize that, okay, I'm still on this path and journey, whatever it may be. The door in front of me didn't mean that it's over. It's not a dead end. It's just the path is curving and I'm still on it. And that's what manifesting means for me. And like, it's a positive outlook, and it encourages me to keep going, in a positive state of mind versus beating myself about why something didn't go my way. And before I didn't have that mindset. I think that's why I was, again, not comfortable with myself. And going back to dating, I was always like in a grumpy kind of space. And so I think that made it hard for me to meet someone authentically and make friends. And so now in this new, I call it this new, this new version of Noel, I'm really excited because I'm happier now. And I think it's allowing more positive things to fall into my lap. Not without, me working for them, but I'm more open to receiving things, whether they're dates and friends or opportunities, even the things that I think are not great. I'm open to accepting them and learning from them. So I'm all about that manifesting, and it's new to me. I'm starting to get into astrology too, and all that fun, crazy stuff, and I'm learning little by little. A friend has me like looking into like crystals and all that, so I'm becoming a crystal gay. So we'll see how that goes. But I've never been a spiritual person, so I'm excited to be again open to this and seeing what that does for this version of Noel, because I'm excited to keep growing and learning it and not to be the same person that I was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I love that for you. I really do love that for you. And I will say, I'm glad that you're really growing as a person. You're realizing like your past mistakes and like kind of where you're going now. I do have one last question for you before we kind of like wrap everything up. I do want to know, because we talked about relationships, what kind of guy are you like looking for? Like what's some of the qualities that you look for into like dating?
It's so broad because I think I'm attracted to very different types of personalities. Like, I think someone that makes me laugh is awesome. So whether they're like just a natural comedian, that's great, or whether someone is just unbeknownst to them, just funny, like just naturally quirky. I think that's the most charming thing in the world, when they're just silly, and I think that comes from being, really comfortable with who they are, the person. So comedy is something that pulls me into someone, and also someone that has no walls built up, someone that doesn't make me question if they like me or not, or if what they have is authentic. I'm kind of talking to this guy right now, and everything feels really natural and it feels organic. And I don't feel like I have to try, and I don't think he's trying either. So it just feels really natural. And I've never felt that way before. I've always felt like, does he like me? I have to act too cool. I can't show too much interest, or he won't like me. You know what I mean? Like, none of that exists. It just feels normal. And I guess that's part of growing up too, where you're just too fucking busy to pretend. Really, you only have enough time and energy to be yourself. And so I think that's part of it. So authenticity, no walls, being funny. In terms of aesthetics, man, I like a whole slew of things. Like, I've been attracted to non-conventionally attractive people. You know what I mean? Like, people that are maybe like scrawny or overweight. Even though everybody's beautiful in their own way. Muscular guys, tall guys, short guys. Like, I don't think I have a preference. It's kind of like you just feel something for that person. I will say that I do find myself usually being attracted to other artists, whether they're into drag or performing, singing, dancing. I think people who dress really well, I think that's an art too, and they may not be aware of it. So people that are really into their facial hair, or the way they comb their hair and the way they dress, I think that's art. And a lot of people may not agree, but I think that's an art that we present to the world daily. And so when someone takes a lot of time and attention and effort into the way they present themselves, it doesn't have to be like high fashion, but when they have a defined aesthetic, I find that really attractive. So defined aesthetics, for example, is something that attracts me.
Well, there you go. Well, he pretty much just told everyone what type of man he's looking for. I definitely feel you on that. That's the same thing with me, especially when I'm trying to like look for someone to be in a relationship with. I feel like nowadays, I feel like just going with the flow, just seeing what happens, not putting any pressure on anything, because I know we're all busy. But my thing is, even though we're all busy, if you like someone, you're going to make time for them. It's no excuses. And for me also as well, I prefer someone who's going to be straight up. I don't like liars. That's something I just do not like. So I'm glad that you're talking to someone, and hopefully that works out for you. I'm wishing you nothing but the best. I know that you're really growing as a person, and your life is only going to get even better. Like, you look great. I know you feel great, and you're on the right path. Absolutely.
Thank you, baby. Okay. Thank you. Likewise.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today, taking out time for your day. You didn't have to, but I really appreciate you showing support. I love you.
All right. I appreciate you. Oh.
Absolutely. So I am going to go ahead and close out the show, everyone. And as I always say, get your life together, get your credit together, and clean that fucking kitchen, because we do not do roaches. Can I get an amen?
And your bathroom, bitch. Bye, babe.
Bye, boo. I'll talk to you later. Bye.